Welcome to Cloudscapes, your go-to podcast for all things cloud native. Our aim here is to keep it real and have down-to-earth chats about the cloud to also help you learn something new and be inspired on your cloud journey.
I'm Teppo Suominen, your host and a team coach here at UpCloud, and with me, as always, my co-host Jannika Jokinen, a sales lead at UpCloud. And today we have the pleasure to welcome with us Thomas Wahlberg, the CTO of Quriiri. A warm welcome, and it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, so let's kick it off. I'm sure we have listeners who are not yet familiar with Quriiri. So could you tell us a little bit more about what do you do?
Yeah, well, Quriiri is a small company in Finland that's founded around 10 years ago, and we are pretty much having a 10-year anniversary in a couple of weeks. And we develop a messaging platform that mainly supports SMS, so text messages, email, RCS, and other channels. And that's our main product, and that's what we do daily here.
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations. 10 years, it's quite a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know also that we've been working together for around the same time. So that's also another milestone, I would say. Maybe it would be interesting to know a bit how actually we ended up working together around 10 years ago, if you still remember the thoughts from back then.
Yeah, well, I joined Quriiri like 4 years ago, so I wasn't part of the decision making at the time, and since the collaboration started around 10 years ago, so I think it was Tomi Kokkola that was an acquaintance at UpCloud with our founders, and UpCloud was apparently at the time pretty much the only Finnish company, at least, that provided easily configurable servers via web GUIs with decent pricing and fast setup. So I guess that was the main reason.
And Tomi is still with us, so that's another 10 years gone, but still going strong.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and then if we dig a bit deeper into the messaging world and the messaging landscape, I think it would be quite interesting to understand a little bit more beyond just the messaging and what's the technically core value proposition of business messaging and how it's been, developed in the past years.
Well, if you start with our customer base, which is very diverse, we have companies ranging from one-person companies to publicly traded ones and public companies and with the government and so on. So everybody has their own needs, and our mission is to help our customers reach their customers. So whatever their business is, our aim is to help them reach their customers, and the messages can vary a lot, from like critical one-time password codes to general information messaging and marketing messages.
Right.
So,
and then I'm assuming that as technology evolves, and it's been evolving all the time and continues doing so, that you're also seeing this in the messaging landscape, that how can you actually serve the customers with different use cases and different ways of utilizing the messages to then reach indeed their end customers.
Yeah, and it's really evolving now, and with new features, with rich media, with RCS, and it's going to offer a lot to the end users with new media features. And then a big thing is also the sender verification, which has been a problem with text messages for a long time. And in the last couple of years, we've been having some good things happen to that also. Nowadays, we are able to register sender IDs also with SMS traffic. But with RCS, it's more more robust the sender verification process. So users will have security that the sender is really the company they think that it is. So there are huge benefits to end users.
Yeah, and I think it sounds, quite complicated also from the technical perspective. And maybe if we think about, the underlying infrastructure and the cloud underneath, what kind of things you actually need to consider in order to, run all of this? What's important?
Well, first of all, the media files, videos and audio and images, we have to store them somehow and allow our customers to set up their own media library. And then, of course, the messages themselves are way more complicated and complex. So our systems have to accommodate for that. So we are now moving our messages that are larger in size, in bytes, within our system. So in the future, it might lead to us having to optimize some of our systems more. And in the device related to devices, for example, every device renders the images in the messaging app a bit differently, depending on their resolution and screen size and so on. And of course, we aim to deliver messages and images such a way that they are looking that they make sense on every user's phone.
Of course, yeah.
So we have to take that into account and maybe have some more strict limitations on what image sizes and so on people can send through our system, and not solely rely on the service providers' limitations on those.
That's actually an interesting point about RCS and moving more into richer data formats and messages, is that you have to look into the limitations more, because with text messages, it's always a maximum amount. But with RCS, the sky is the limit, basically. But, you do run into technical complications at some point when people start sending gigabytes of videos.
Yeah, exactly. We have to think about that constantly.
So maybe on that and the core value prop, I just started thinking that is, like, from your point of view, the end product that you provide is largely about trust at the end of the day. Like you provide trustworthy services that the messages will get through and they will be the form that the customer assumes and expects. Or how do you see that?
Yeah, that's a huge part of the business. Luckily, at least the SMS traffic is very reliable and the read rate is very high. So I don't think these other current applications such as WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, they are not maybe not directly competing with text messages in a sense. At least here in Finland, the text message is regarded a bit more professional or trustworthy. Yeah, trust is a big issue, and the problem with SMS is mostly related to the sender verification process that earlier didn't even exist. So there's a huge amount of SMS traffic that's AIT, is artificially inflated traffic. So pretty much scam messages. It's like 40% of all text message traffic. So it's quite a huge number, and lately we've been tackling that with the sender IDs, and in the future I hope there will be even more stuff like that happening to ensure the trustworthiness of text messages.
Well, that was actually one of the things I wanted to ask about. So really cool to hear, like, kind of what the landscape there is. Thank you.
Yeah, and then if we think about it a bit further, of course, trust and that kind of compliance that comes with it is obviously at the core of your business, to then build the trust towards your end customers that, hey, it's safe to work with us, so to say. So then if we think about, from your perspective, what would you give as an advice for other businesses who are looking to build these kind of data sensitive applications when it comes to, building trust and hearing adherence in GDPR?
Yeah, well, I think the security issue is the most important one. That security has to be a habit for everyone, and it must be discussed with every stakeholder. And following industry standards with everything whenever possible. So, for example, everybody should be using MFA whenever possible, strong passwords, and also limit access to data to as few people as possible. Clean up the data, don't leave anything behind that's not necessary, and use industry standard best practices, SSH keys, avoid password-only authentication to anything, and have protocols in place for accidents, so data breach or service misuse. Have a plan on what to do. It's a lot easier to fix problems when you when it's like when you have to do it instantly, when you know what to do, instead of having to wonder that what should we do now?
Yeah, it's a lot easier following a plan than making up a plan as you go, for sure.
Yeah, and then you talk a little bit about also preparing, having a plan. So how do you actually approach disaster recovery and ensuring that the business continues?
Yeah. Well, we have disaster recovery plans made, and for example, all our systems are now based on infrastructure as code. So basically, in the worst case scenario that, for example, all our servers go down, we can set up the whole environment within hours. We just need like the public IP addresses of new servers, and then we can restore the data and install our software there. So we would maybe lose 1 day worth of data at most, and after that we are up and running with everything. So that's maybe the biggest helper for us, the infrastructure as code and data backups.
And that's of course only in the worst case scenario. So
yeah, and of course there are less severe cases. For example, service misuse. That we have to. A firewall is usually the one that helps us most, because the misuse might come through API traffic. So, and depending on the issue, we have several different methods in place and how to handle them.
But it basically boils down to having the plans and processes in place, and of course a lot of automation to help you not have to build it by hand.
Yeah, pretty much. And of course, we aim to do everything so that it's really transparent for other customers. That usually it's maybe one customer that's affected if there is any issue.
Yeah.
And in the real worst case scenario where every customer is affected, then it's more drastic measures. But yeah.
Do you see, I don't know if you can even answer this, but do you see a lot of targeted attacks towards certain customers, or is it more ad hoc, just misuse, or what's the normal attack profile that you see?
Yeah, well, my understanding is that it's like misuse in general. It's not targeted towards specific customers. It's rather targeted to the system and finding vulnerabilities within the system, that how they can exploit that.
Trying to use your system against itself, not against the customers so much.
That, and also the systems that our customers develop.
Of course, makes sense.
So my guess is that they are not interested in in us or our customer per se, but rather the system that whatever they can exploit, they will exploit.
Yeah, that sounds like a very familiar attack profile that we also see, like trying to find the loopholes there and get into the end system.
Yeah, and then of course in this topic, monitoring is probably a big thing, and following the right metrics for, of course, performance, but also reliability, and then understanding when something is possibly going down south, so to say. So from your perspective as a CTO, what do you see are the most, let's say, critical metrics that you should follow?
Yeah, the whole monitoring in general, I would say, is the biggest thing. We need to monitor the operating system on operating system level, so CPU, RAM, and disk usage. If we run out of disk, for example, we are having a hard time. And then on the software level, we have some specific metrics that we follow. For example, message queue sizes. Those have been helping us a lot. And the key with this monitoring is that we can prepare for future issues so that we can predict possible problems even before they happen. And so we can react to those and fix if there's any issues before our customers see any problems. And then, of course, log aggregation and log-based alerting is something that helps a lot.
You mentioned a little bit about the storage and how critical it is, of course, for your business. So let's dig a bit deeper into the data management side. As you know, we work closely together, and you are utilizing both our Max IOPS block storage, but also our object storage. Could you maybe explain a little bit on the architectural decisions behind using these different storages, and yeah, what's your kind of use cases for those?
Yeah. Well, our system consists of roughly like a database, a message queue, and then tens of microservices. So every microservice and the message queue is writing logs, for example, constantly. So hence the need for fast storage with Max IO apps. And database transactions are quite frequent also. So that's why we really need the fast disk on almost all of the servers. And what comes to object storage, that need came from actually when we developed the RCS feature, and we wanted to give our customers like this media library so that they can store their own media in Quriiri. So that was the perfect fit for us, and the easy interface to access that. It's been really good, reliant.
So you provide actually like a media library for all customers if they want to, they can upload their stuff there and utilize it within your system. Yeah,
you can upload videos and images and so on to Quriiri, and then you can set up messaging campaigns and use those media files.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And it was surprisingly easy to set up. And
really good to hear. We managed to succeed on that one then.
Yeah.
Good.
And of course, there's a decent price per gigabyte ratio with the object storage. So it's like better than having disk on the
for sure. Yeah, if you need to mass store some data, and especially if it's usually unchanging data, which I would guess the customer media campaign stuff usually like they build it and then it's the same. It really makes sense to utilize it there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then if we think about the future and what's ahead, if thinking about, you mentioned that you already now been developing new features into the platform and offering new ways of using your service to your end customers, like adding the media library. So, what kind of future technologies are you most interested, whether it's in the messaging landscape or maybe on the infrastructure side?
Well, currently we're developing a new user interface that is maybe not that technical, but there's some major improvements in what comes to generating or creating these messaging campaigns so that our customers can track the engagement better and have better campaigns set up. And then maybe on the back end, we are maybe like we discussed earlier, we might have to start optimizing some database transactions and the message queue messages, since it gets a bit more complex and the message sizes start to get a lot bigger compared to text messages. So it's not, we're not in a hurry to do that, but it's something that we are looking into. And I'm assuming that the case is similar to RCS in other channels also, that the message sizes in the queue will get a bit more complex compared to SMS. And then AI is, of course, somewhat of a hot topic that we are every now and then discussing that how we could utilize it. But so far, we haven't found any specific use cases that AI would help us a lot.
Yeah.
But we've been busy doing other things that maybe one day we will have something AI will help us with.
Yeah, and same as with all tech, that it moves along quite quickly, so you never know what's around the bend. You can try to plan, but changes are coming always.
Exactly, and I used to be a front-end developer myself, so I've learned to avoid the hype train quite a lot. So it's I'm not like rushing into anything with the AI.
There's a gain from early adoption, but there is also a lot of risks. So it's good to know like at which point you want to be adopting and moving forward.
Exactly, and also we are doing now moving to a more high availability setup. We are going to like duplicate our servers and cluster database and so on. So,
all right,
these are some things we are preparing to be more scalable and more highly available.
Yeah, it's always building into high availability is an interesting job in and of itself on the infrastructure side.
Yeah, it definitely brings another layer of complexity to the setup.
Sure. Cool stuff. Thank you.
Yep.
Then if we reflect on your time at Quriiri, and maybe even if you have some insights from before that, what would you say has been the biggest lesson or learning on the infrastructure side? Has there been some surprises or something that's been actually, something that, hey, this is really cool, like we learned something from this process?
I think there definitely has been like surprises, and I think the most valuable lesson is the classic one that problems will come, and it's all about being prepared and fixing them as soon as possible. So a lot of the time, the issues that arise are not maybe related to our product, but of course we try to help our customers doing the best we can with issues not related to our system, or then overcome an issue with our platform. And the key here, I think, is to have a great team that has the right attitude and knowledge on how to tackle the problems, because they are unavoidable.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you so much.
We discussed a little bit about your future plans and how you're trying to get into new development areas and are doing so all the time. But technically, what's next for Quriiri? What can we expect?
I think the one thing that our users will mostly benefit from is the new user interface. So it has major improvements indeed for the how to reach their customers easily, and how to have two-way messaging set up. So that's probably the biggest one. And then there's the RCS capabilities are being further developed, and hopefully it hasn't really taken off yet in Finland, but it's coming, and we are indeed prepared, and our system is fully RCS capable, but we are doing some improvements on that side also. And also other messaging channels. Once the RCS gets rolling, we are looking into other messaging channels. And also, we have a plan to make this conversation feature within Quriiri. so that our customers could have a conversation via text messages, basically through the UI. So you could take a talk with their own customers through the UI via SMS.
Okay.
And the platform improvements, like we discussed, it's the high availability setup now that's on its way, and improve the infrastructure as code setup. Currently, we have everything set up with Ansible so that we can reinstall or update everything we needed. But we are also looking into Terraform as a next step to handle the whole infra setup also with IAC.
Well, a lot of stuff happening kind of below the surface. But hopefully it will, of course, reflect towards the customers as better service from you in the future as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main thing, that we need to provide value for our customers. So everything is done in order to achieve that, in order to achieve a reliable service.
For sure.
And,
All right. Thank you. I guess we've reached the end of our longer questions, so time for a few quick ones.
all right.
We've got a set of 4 questions. Don't think about them over much. Just answer with whatever comes to the top of your head. Doesn't need to be a long answer. It's more looking into kind of the ideas that you've got hanging around there. Starting off, what is the cloud trend you currently see emerging in Europe that interests you the most?
Cloud trend. Well, I'm not sure if it's specific to cloud, but I think the data and GDPR stuff somewhat related to cloud that
definitely,
that we can see in our customers. They really tend to value the fact that the data is in EU, and especially in Finland. Most of our customers are Finnish, so they even might have a requirement that all their systems and data must be located in Finland. So I think that's a privacy thing. Privacy thing is a big thing for everyone.
And this has actually come up quite a few times over this season. A lot of our guests have mentioned data sovereignty and the possibility of having local cloud, in a sense, like in a global setting, that you're able to decide where your data resides. It's definitely on the rise. So it's a really interesting one for sure.
Yeah, it is, and it's for a reason. It's for a good reason. It's really important, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, and as you said as well, that sometimes it's a requirement from the end customer, and then when you actually already have it in place, it's not going to stop you serving that customer. So it's then a win-win for, of course, you as a business, but then also for the customer, so they can then utilize the service and trust that everything is okay on the security front when it comes to the data residency and the security of the data, so to say.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, it's even more web performance benefits for any traffic within Finland, if all the traffic happens in Finland. So its latencies are smaller and so on. And especially with our system, the latencies really need to be quite low because it's such high demands on it.
Yeah, you don't want to wait for the password message to reach you 3 or 4 minutes.
Exactly. And most of the SMS traffic and messaging traffic, of course, happens during like work hours. So most of the customers are sending messages at the same time. Yeah. So that's where it comes to. It's extremely important that everything works flawlessly and fast.
Thank you.
Then the second question of the 4. So when you're not navigating the cloud, what would you say is your favorite place on earth?
Favorite place on earth? Maybe the gym or the paddle court.
All right.
Yeah, I've tried paddle once. Didn't like it.
You need to try again.
Maybe it was the reason. Maybe I'm warming up to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Brilliant. What's one book, movie, or experience that has had a great impact on you?
Well, sort of a stubborn person, so I'm not sure if any books or movies have had any real effect on me. But I really enjoyed David Goggins' books, the Can't Hurt Me and Never Finish.
Yeah.
So those have been really good.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And then if we think about one thing from this conversation today, what that is that you wish people would take away from this conversation today?
There are many points, I guess. Making real-time systems is really, really tough and requires a lot of skilled people. And add the complexity of security and data sovereignty to that. So there's a lot of moving parts, and just a reminder that there's so many things that can go wrong. And like we discussed, the best thing to prepare for them, that is having good people in place to know what to do and be prepared to fix everything and have the right attitude to fix everything. So I think that's really key.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I think you actually mentioned one really important keyword here that we didn't really bring up, which is real time. Basically, this whole conversation can be replicated into any real time system that a other company is thinking of running on top of cloud. The same issues and solutions really also will kind of come up. So that's a really good keyword to leave at the end here.
Yeah. It puts a lot of the new requirements for the system, and it's real time. And exactly like you said, that the one-time password codes, you can't wait 3 minutes for them because they've already expired.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
It's like, now I got the code, but what? So what?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I've actually had this situation a few times where some service that is serviced from the Americas or the Asia Pacific market takes longer for the password to reach me than it's usable. And it's like, well, thank you for the message, but it expired 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. And then those as well that you're not just, clicking it again, resend the code, and then all of a sudden you just get like 12 of them and you're like, oops, which one should I use?
Yeah, that's also a bit of an issue. Sure.
Yeah. And there's one interesting thing regarding that also is that, for example, the latency in some messages, it not necessarily related to, for example, our product. There's a lot of middleware, so to speak, through mobile operators and third-party services and so on, that the messages go through before they reach the end user's phone. And each point of that can be congested, maybe.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of possible points of failure.
Yeah.
In the on route.
Well, that's actually a fair point. That it's like even if you do your stuff perfectly, then the service chain can be quite long, starting from the for a password reset, starting from the web page that you click the button on, for it to reach even you from there might have 2 or 3 different services on the way, and then all the way to the end customers. It's quite a long chain easily.
Exactly, and especially when sending traffic abroad, because messages go through several different operators and everything is not standardized. So some messages go through one operator, but not through another, for example. So there's a lot of possible failure points.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Trying to kind of wrap up here what we discussed, as you mentioned, quite a lot of things that would be interesting. But of course, we learned a bit about Quriiri and where you guys are now and where you're going, especially with RCS and moving towards more robust messaging services and what that means for your solutions and how you have to kind of rethink the whole chain of your product on top of that. And then we, of course, discussed a bit on the data sovereignty and the ability to be compliant and have your data in a specific region and be sure and that you can trust that your data is where it's set to be. And then I think one of the really important and interesting parts was about just having the plans in place, as you mentioned, to be ready for the contingencies when they happen, because it's a lot easier to at least have some plan in place than to make it up as you go. And I guess that's largely most of it. So thank you so much, Thomas, for joining us. A really insightful chat into what's happening in the space of messaging and with Quriiri specifically, and I think really important lessons for anyone trying to build any real-time solutions on top of cloud. Thank you so much for the chat today. And it was great to have you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.